They never plan to wake up with thoughts of you filling their mind completely. This is the first important thing you need to understand well, because most people are far too weak to face the complex emotions they have pushed down deep into the hidden corners of their psyche. They have used all their strength and all their stubborn determination over a long period of time to keep these feelings contained, but the reality is that their efforts are finally starting to fray at the edges. Intensity has already taken hold of them because staying indifferent works only in a quiet way that is hard to notice at the very beginning of a connection. But this situation was not silent at all in the grand scheme of things. It turned into a private and exhausting fight that they had been losing even when their eyes were closed at night and the world around them appeared to be completely calm and steady on the surface. You sensed it yourself, did you not? There was that subtle shift in the air and that hidden flow of energy, like something significant was growing quietly just under their composed appearance. It was never really about the physical distance or the mixed signals they sent you. It was about something much more serious instead. This situation involved a true and undeniable recognition of what was happening deep inside their own heart without any lingering doubt. If you want the full truth about how someone secretly fights their strong feelings for you, you need to pay close attention to how the human mind operates under pressure. People do not welcome their deepest emotions when those feelings first start to appear suddenly or without invitation. Instead, they push those sensations away with force and question them from every possible angle with a mixture of fear and caution. They hide their true emotions under a mountain of excuses, their rigid ego, and the thick walls they have built up carefully over many years to protect themselves from vulnerability. Because what they feel for you does not match the image of themselves they are trying so hard to maintain every single day without failing. This conflict becomes where things start to become risky and truly difficult for them to navigate. The stronger a feeling challenges their internal pride, the harder they try to push it down even more aggressively than they did before. This process is what psychologists often refer to as repression, which is the mind's natural method of hiding desires that feel unacceptable or too overwhelming in their current life. But repression is not simply about forgetting the feelings completely or erasing them from memory. It creates a steady and mounting pressure that keeps building up over time inside them like a dam waiting to break. And pressure always finds its own way to come out eventually. No matter how much someone tries to hold it back with sheer willpower and effort, it eventually demands to be acknowledged. Most people do not understand this important fact until it becomes far too late for easy changes or simple solutions. What they refused to accept yesterday slowly becomes the dominant force that controls their thoughts and their actions today without them realizing it fully in the moment. That is exactly why this morning felt so different from all the other normal days they had known before. It was not because something new started out of nowhere or without cause. It happened because something finally broke apart inside them at a structural level, and you were not there to witness that deeply private collapse of their denial. This hidden breakdown was never a spoken confession or a direct message sent to your phone. It was a singular moment where all their usual ways to escape the truth failed them completely. You know exactly what it feels like when someone you care about cannot stop thinking about you in the morning during that heavy silence before the day truly begins. Their usual distractions vanished, and you appeared not simply as an old memory from the past, but as a powerful and unavoidable realization for their future. Attraction is easily set aside. An idle curiosity can be brushed off without much effort. But when something carries real emotional weight, the mind begins to crack under the burden. They were forced to face a deep question they had avoided for a very long time. Why do you affect them so strongly? They tried to answer using only cold logic, telling themselves the feeling was temporary and meant nothing serious in the bigger picture of their life. They used every label possible to categorize the connection. Coincidence, simple chemistry, or passing circumstances were their favorite tools. They were clinging to anything except the real truth they feared most. The actual truth is that you do not struggle to explain away something that carries no real importance in your life. You do not fight against something that does not exist, nor do you try to bury feelings that lack true depth or resonance. Every attempt they made to remove you from their thoughts only made your image clearer and stronger over time. Every distraction they used fell apart exactly when they needed it most to stay in full control of their mental state. This is not a sign of weakness, but the unavoidable pull of what is truly happening between you two. They did not want something they could not control completely on their own terms. They wanted to keep full power over their own emotions and decisions at every single step along the way. You came in and disturbed that careful balance they had created for themselves over many years of effort. You became the one factor they could not figure out or solve easily with their usual methods. You turned into the emotion they could not predict ahead of time and the presence they could not remove or neutralize, no matter how hard they tried with sheer determination. That loss of control is what truly scared them deep down inside their heart. It was not really about you as an individual, but about what you had awakened inside their own heart and mind fully. You did not just create a small stir in their life. You brought something to life that they could not manage on their own. And people do not fear emotions as much as they fear losing full command over their own reactions and their own path. This explains why they pulled away suddenly and why their behavior became so inconsistent and unpredictable over the past few weeks. Their energy felt scattered, not because they cared too little, but because they felt far more than they could handle comfortably. Feeling this much requires making a clear decision, and they were simply not prepared for that terrifying step yet. Avoidance is never a sign that desire is missing from the equation. It proves that the desire is strong enough to create a war inside their head. Their inner struggles started to take over as the conscious mind ordered them to stay safe behind logical walls, while the subconscious kept bringing you back. It rebuilt your presence in their thoughts during moments of calm, exactly where their usual distractions faded away and left them alone with their own mind. They began to notice that you were not disappearing from their thoughts over time like they had desperately hoped. Instead, your image was becoming clearer, sharper, and almost impossible to ignore. Denial needs space and distance to survive, but your influence grew stronger every day, even without any physical nearness between you. Once a feeling moves from simple doubt into deep subconscious certainty, it stops asking for approval and starts demanding full attention. That exact turning point arrived for them this morning in a quiet but powerful manner, stripped of all comfort and pretense. It arrived as a silent, overwhelming wave that left them standing completely exposed to the truth. Their walls did not fall from an outside attack or a confrontation. They crumbled from the sheer weight of what was hidden inside them for so long. Yet, it shook them more deeply than any open confession possibly could have done in their life. Because the truth was not spoken out loud for others to hear or analyze. It was simply understood on a level that cannot be reversed easily once accepted by the heart. You can mislead other people around you and even fool yourself for some time with effort, but once the mind truly accepts something important, it refuses to release that knowledge without a fight. They now know the truth completely and not in a partial or unclear way anymore. Acceptance does not bring instant calm or peace to the situation right away. It actually creates new chaos because they must now face all the things they had been avoiding carefully before this moment. They have to consider what this feeling really means for their future, how it will change their life, what it requires from them, and especially what they might lose if they continue ignoring it completely. Feelings of this strength do not stay neutral for long periods. They grow, become more powerful, and keep moving forward steadily without pause. Right now, they stand at the edge of all that built-up pressure, trying their best to hold on to their sense of control while everything underneath them keeps shifting and changing rapidly. This experience was never only about you as an individual person in their life. It was mainly about the deeper parts of themselves that you helped bring to life and awareness fully. That inner awakening process is still continuing and has not reached its end yet in their long journey. They believed that accepting the feelings would make everything quieter and easier to handle with time. They were mistaken because admitting the truth this morning did not settle the storm inside them at all. It simply gave the storm a clear name and identity that stuck. Once something important has a name, it becomes much harder to run away from or escape successfully in the end. Simple awareness does not weaken the intensity of emotions in any way. It actually makes them sharper and turns unclear feelings into solid and undeniable reality that is hard to dismiss easily now. That new reality started pressing against them almost right away without any delay at all. They can no longer pretend that nothing is happening or that it will pass on its own without effort. Every thought now carries extra weight and meaning for them. Every memory feels purposeful, and every quiet moment feels filled with energy and tension inside. When the mind loses its ability to deny something real, it begins to divide into opposing parts naturally. One side moves closer toward you while the other side fights hard to pull away with strength and hesitation. And neither part is willing to surrender easily in this ongoing struggle between them. This is not ordinary confusion, but a real internal division between strong desire and strong self-protection at the same time. Both forces are becoming more powerful because what they feel for you has gone beyond simple attraction alone. It is moving closer to a form of emotional attachment that is starting to take shape inside them deeply. Attachment feels threatening to anyone who is scared of losing personal control over their life and choices completely. Most people fail to notice this deeper process happening around them because they are looking at the surface actions rather than the internal shifts. The stronger the emotional flow becomes, the more their mental defenses rise up to protect them from the perceived harm of being vulnerable. That is why, after they recognize their true feelings, they did not move forward right away with confidence. They paused, thought too much, and analyzed everything carefully from all sides to ensure they were not making a mistake. They overthought simple things that used to feel completely natural because those things now carried heavy importance and possible risks for them. They are trapped in a loop where their heart wants to leap forward, but their fear holds them back. And this cycle is precisely what makes them seem so distant to you, even though you are constantly on their mind. You are the catalyst for a transformation they were not prepared for, and even if they try to hide it, the shift in their behavior is a testament to the fact that they have finally recognized the depth of what they feel. They will continue to process this, and even if they remain silent, the weight of that truth will eventually force them to find a way to reconcile their desire with their life, regardless of how much they currently try to avoid the inevitable conclusion of their own internal war. Anything that carries real emotional weight starts to feel like a potential danger to their freedom, to their carefully constructed sense of self, and to the personal image they have worked so hard to maintain over many years. You do not fear things that you do not value deep in your heart. This creates a strong, gnawing contradiction that becomes impossible for them to ignore any longer without significant effort. The very same feeling that pulls them closer is also pushing them back at the same time, creating a constant inner tension that drains their vital energy. That ongoing contradiction drains their spirit and follows them into every single part of their daily life, without any mercy. It enters ordinary moments that once felt perfectly normal because now everything carries a quiet echo of you, even if that connection is not direct at all. A certain tone of voice, a short pause, or a specific kind of silence can suddenly bring them back to thoughts of you in ways they did not choose and cannot control. The subconscious part of their mind holds on much tighter because it does not follow the careful timing or the rigid schedule set by their logical brain. You have crossed that important line, which means you are no longer something optional in their thoughts or their feelings anymore. Now they must face the difficult, painful question they have avoided for so long at any cost to their inner peace. Why you, specifically, out of all the possible people in the world? Why does your presence affect them in this unique and powerful manner that stands out so clearly? The more they search for logical answers, the less sense it seems to make overall in their busy mind. This connection was never built on easy convenience or simple circumstances that could be explained away quickly with empty words. It cannot be reduced to one basic reason or one simple story alone. It comes from something much deeper, rooted in a genuine recognition that feels both unchosen and impossible to avoid completely. If this connection is truly as real as it feels, then it requires something important from them, including bold action, emotional openness, and total personal exposure, which are all things they have avoided for many years in their life. So they try to delay any progress, and they create more distance to slow down what is already speeding up inside their minds steadily. Distance does not weaken a real emotional bond at all. In reality, it actually makes the bond much stronger because it removes all the outside distractions that could interfere with the truth. When those distractions disappear, only the pure truth remains, and that truth is growing louder and more powerful instead of fading away with the passage of time. They feel this change clearly in how their thoughts keep returning to you without any warning at all. They feel it in the sudden emotions that rise up strongly during the day, and they feel it in the way something deep inside refuses to become calm, no matter how much effort they put into controlling it tightly. Suppression keeps failing for them over and over again without any real success. Real tension is now taking hold because they are fully aware of the feelings, yet they still resist them actively every single day. They sense the truth, yet they keep questioning it with persistent doubt, and they recognize its raw power, yet they avoid carrying its full weight in their life, as they have done before. This creates an ongoing psychological pressure that never fully goes away from them. It keeps building up and tightening until something has to break under the strain eventually. They are not only fighting against the feeling itself in their heart, they are also struggling with what that feeling shows about their own hidden needs and their own fears deep down. What they feel for you reveals the deep craving to connect with someone special, the longing to be truly understood and seen clearly by another person, and the fear of letting themselves be affected so strongly by someone else. Being affected deeply means opening up to vulnerability, and vulnerability requires giving up some control, which makes them feel very uncomfortable inside. So they keep moving back and forth between leaning closer emotionally and then pulling away mentally for the sake of safety and peace. One moment they imagine positive possibilities for the future where you are included, and the next they tell themselves it is too complicated or too risky to continue moving forward. This back-and-forth movement is not random at all, but serves as a protective shield for them. It lets them experience the intensity of the feelings without completely giving into them at once in full force. You cannot experience something this meaningful in a half-hearted way. You can only postpone facing it fully for some time, and every single delay comes with its own heavy price that must be paid later. Suppressed emotions do not vanish into nothing without a trace. They change into inattention, restlessness, and constant mental noise that is hard to quiet down completely, even with a great deal of effort. Lately, that noise has grown much stronger and more persistent for them in their daily life. It now affects them not only in their emotions, but also in their thinking patterns, their daily behavior, and even in physical ways they cannot help but notice. Sometimes you can see it in their reduced focus, their changing moods, and their strong volatile reactions to unrelated things around them suddenly. An unresolved truth is rising up from deep inside, and it demands something they are not fully ready to offer yet without a lot of hesitation. They are much closer to their personal breaking point than they want to believe right now. Something very important is starting to crack apart inside them deeply, not on the outside, where they keep a calm appearance with practiced effort every day. The real change is happening underneath, where their mind finally stops pretending and where the truth exists without needing any approval from them at all. Repression always carries a hidden cost, and that cost is now becoming due for them to pay in full without any chance of escape. The longer someone pushes down something genuine, the more powerfully it returns later with a much greater force than before. What once felt easy to manage now feels intrusive and demanding in their life. What felt far away now feels close and immediate without any warning. What could be denied before now feels completely undeniable and real in their heart. When the subconscious can no longer stay contained quietly, it does not bargain or compromise gently with them. It breaks through suddenly in raw and direct ways they never expected at all. It appears in their sudden reactions, their increased irritability, and in how small issues cause unusually strong frustration for no clear reason. Their ability to concentrate disappears the moment thoughts of you enter their mind without invitation. You are no longer just another person who exists in their outer life casually. You have become someone living inside their private inner world completely, and that difference changes the entire situation dramatically in many ways. External things can be avoided, set aside, or replaced with something new without much trouble. But inner realities follow a person into every quiet moment, into their sleep, and into the spaces they thought belonged only to themselves alone. Their resistance is beginning to weaken because the main question has changed for them now. It is no longer whether they feel something real inside their heart, because that part is already clear without any doubt. The new question is what they are going to do about these strong feelings that refuse to leave them. Now that is the question that scares them the most, because taking action means possible exposure and emotional vulnerability, which means giving up some of the control they value so highly in their life. Most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid exactly this kind of situation with great care. You cannot fully control something that has already changed you from the inside so deeply, and you have transformed them in important ways that will last. The change is not surface level or short-term at all. It has reached deeper into how they understand emotions, how they see real connection with others, and how they now experience your absence in their daily life fully. Your absence has actually become louder and more noticeable than your presence ever felt before in their world. That reality is what is breaking them slowly over time, not just missing you in a simple way, but feeling your influence no matter where they are or what they do every single day. This creates a tension that refuses to go away easily from them. It keeps returning in cycles and growing stronger each time without fail. Every effort to move on simply brings them back to the same deep realization that nothing else feels quite the same anymore in comparison. That quiet comparison is slowly breaking down their protective walls because everything else now seems less intense, less meaningful, and less genuine in comparison to you. This forces them to accept a truth they tried very hard to avoid for so long in their heart. This connection cannot be replaced with anything else easily at all. A quiet sense of panic is starting to grow inside them steadily. It is not loud or obvious to others, but it is slow and steady, like something creeping forward without stopping. If something cannot be replaced, then the possibility of losing it feels very real and frightening for them. The fear of losing something authentic is often much stronger than the fear of never having it in the first place at all. Their behavior is starting to change in ways they do not fully understand themselves yet, and they are finding it harder and harder to hide the truth from themselves as the internal pressure continues to mount higher every day.